Amigos, your relationship needs support. And when I think back to the beginning years of my marriage, where my husband and I were having the most amount of arguments and the least amount of sex, we needed help overcoming the number one issue in our relationship. And to do that, we needed to do something radically different than what we were already trying. You see, even dramatically different than what the generations before us were doing. And that support came in the form of marriage therapy. Marriage therapy was the game changer for my relationship. It allowed my partner and I to finally take a step back and have somebody else walk us through what was actually going on. And eventually we realized that most of the issues that we had with each other had actually nothing to do with the other person, but more so to do with our own unhealed trauma and our own things that we hadn't taken the time to process, but somehow was still showing up in our marriage. And that's why I love BetterHelp. You see, BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a large range of issues. To get started, you just have to answer a couple of questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however way you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or even a video call. You can even message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can totally switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from an in-office therapy, but with a therapist that is custom picked just for you. More scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp by going to my link, betterhelp.com/Karina F. Daves. That's BetterHelp, BETTER, help.com/Karina, F as in Frank, Daves. The link to this coupon is right here in my show notes. Amigos, at this point, you've tried it all in your relationship and nothing is working. You don't have anything to lose by asking for the support you know you need in the form of therapy. And what a better way to do that than with BetterHelp. Coming up on the Relationships You Understand podcast. So after all of these difficulties that I presented, which I want you to understand how necessary it is to fundamentally understand the why you are going through this, you are going to have to make a decision in which you are constantly thinking about these things. You will need to coach yourself through this constant cycle of the logical brain and the emotional brain, the M&Ms, the internal reputation, all of those factors. You will have to coach yourself through that, right? Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Karina F. Daves, relationship coach and speaker, where I help women stop arguing with their partners so that they can have more sex. Because who doesn't want to have more sex? One of the biggest things that women struggle with is a lack of satisfaction in their relationship. It's our best kept secret, and I know this because it used to be me. You see, I was a checklist human obsessed with the many achievements we're pressed to accomplish. Getting degrees, getting married, having children, buying a home. And after all it was achieved, I still felt empty inside. And so I looked to my partner to fulfill me. And this is when the arguing started in my marriage. It wasn't until I stopped blaming my marriage and finally decided to take a deeper look into myself, to work on my own need for control, my perfectionism, and to work on my own unhealed trauma, that I realized in order for my marriage to be better, it required a better me. Join me each week where I will be your personal relationship expert, coaching you through unpacking and processing your identity, values, and standards to resolve the number one conflict in your relationship, because a better relationship begins with a better you. Whether you're deep in your marriage or on the road to one, I will help you reflect on who you are, both in your partnership and outside of it. I know so many of us are struggling with this in such a private way, but believe me, a better relationship is possible, but it also starts with you. Are you willing to do the work? Welcome to Relationships You Understand? If you're loving this podcast and enjoying the juicy relationship gems, then head over to follow me on my socials at Karina F. Daves on Instagram and TikTok. Head over to my website, KarinaFDaves.com, and subscribe to my newsletter, Release Your Relationship, where I share weekly relationship advice on how to overcome the number one issue in your relationship. If you're really enjoying this podcast, don't forget to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or even Spotify. Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode, and share it with all of your amigos. Reviews are such a personal way to hear your voice and interact with our community. Thanks so much for listening. And now, the Relationships You Understand podcast. Amigos, ¿cómo están? Welcome back to Relationships You Understand podcast, hosted by me, Karina F. Daves, relationship expert and speaker. Today, we're going to continue our series called The Cheating Series, Part 2. Last week, we discussed the discovery, and today we're discussing the decision. Now, again, I just want to let y'all know, for those of you that are listening, this series is not been an easy one to record, because after working with so many of my clients and knowing how difficult cheating can be, I want you to understand that I understand how personal cheating is. And, I'm here to help you navigate it. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the decision. My kids are still asleep, and usually I record this when it's time to take them to school and when they're awake. So let's try this. My episodes are super quick. They're usually under 30 minutes. I get right to the point. And yeah, let's get into it. If you haven't listened to last week, I would really suggest you go start there with part 1, which is the discovery and figuring out that your partner has cheated on you. This series is meant to help you navigate through this very personal stage. Okay. If you have any questions, put them in the chat or send me a DM. Okay. Here we go. Again, cheating is a very personal thing that happens, that many of us really feel like it happens to us. Some even say it happens for us. All right. For you to be able to see the many things that are needing to be exposed in your relationship, that's one reason that it happens for us. Another one can be that it happens for you to be able to begin making decisions that serve you. Another is for you to be able to start practicing how to choose yourself and what's best for you. In this episode specifically, though, we're going to talk about the decision to leave or stay. That is usually the biggest question that people ask when they find out that their partner has stepped out on them is, what do I do? Do I stay and work this out, or do I leave? Now, I've worked with several clients that had been cheated on. Some were married for 15 years. Some have been married for 5. Some weren't even married. Some were in long-term relationships for 4 or 5 years. Some were in on and off relationships with this one person that cheated on them for 10 years. And I'm thinking about a particular client in which she was in an on and off relationship with her significant other, and he had cheated on her not just once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times had cheated on her. And so I want you to understand that making the decision to leave or stay will be difficult. And in order to really, as a relationship expert, walk you through why it's so hard to make this decision, I want you to really understand the top 4 reasons why it's so hard to make the decision to leave or stay when you find out your partner has cheated on you. Number 1, it's the fantasy, right? When you find out that your partner has stepped out on you, it tears up the fantasy of what you thought you had. It tears up the fantasy of what you imagined your future to be. It tears up the fantasy of the image that you had of your partner, of even the potential that you saw in your partner. Many of us are very married, including me, to the fantasies of our relationship. And we work so hard every single day to try to make that fantasy, that dream, a reality, right? And so what cheating does is that it tears down the fantasy that you have, and it makes it so difficult for you to decide whether to leave or stay. Okay, that's why you're having this difficult time. The second reason why you have a difficult time deciding whether to leave or stay is at what I call M&Ms, right? Money, mortgage, and minors. Even if you don't pay a mortgage, just ride with me here, okay? Money, mortgage, and minors are your stability. It's your routine. It's your known. It's you know you have to pay this bill. You know that you have these kids. You know that you have this much in your money in your account. It is your routine. And even if y'all have an extreme amount of debt together, whatever your financial situation is, there is an established routine for your marriage that you know will be impacted, that there will be a shift in if you decide to leave, right? Same goes for your rent or for your mortgage, whatever it is. And then your minors, there's a routine for your minors that you do not want to shift. You want them, your children, to have a stable sort of routine that you and your partner have spent a significant amount of time building. And so, why it's so difficult after your partner has cheated on you to decide whether to leave or stay is simply because of your M&Ms, your mortgage, your minors, and your money, and how much these things have a certain routine that you don't want to rock their worlds. You understand? Hola, amiga. Here's the thing. You've mastered everything else in your life but your relationship. You and your partner are not as intimate as you used to be. You are both stuck in this awful cycle of arguing that starts with bickering and ends with your routine blowups every few months. Every single time that you bring up an issue looking to resolve it, they feel like you're complaining, and then you begin to distance yourself. You feel like you're living with a roommate rather than your life partner. Your relationship, amiga, needs comprehension. Comprehension allows you and your partner to forgive each other quicker. Comprehension allows you and your partner to prioritize each other again. Comprehension is the very thing that will allow you both to give each other the space you need during those blowups. It stops the cycle of arguing. In my private one-on-one coaching program, I help women just like you come up with the exact communication strategies to begin to comprehend their partners and have their partners comprehend them. I will tell you the issues about your relationship that will take your couples therapist 6 months to tell you in just the very first session. It only takes one person in the relationship to do the work for there to be any progress. Either way, you will grow, and that is what is important. Through a mixture of one-on-one coaching, relationship framework, and plenty of aha moments, you'll finally be able to understand your triggers more deeply and decrease the time you spend arguing with your partner. You'll become more of an active listener versus being offended all the time. I want to help you stop arguing on the way to date night and actually have energy for post-date night activities, if you know what I mean. I'm on a mission to show women like you how to talk to their partners in a way that moves the needle for your relationship rather than leaving you stuck in this toxic cycle of arguing. I know many of us are struggling with this in such a private way, but believe me, a better relationship is possible, but it begins with you. So let's work together. I want to help you. Go to the link in the podcast notes to book a sales call where we'll talk about everything that's happened so far, what you've tried, and how I can help. I can't wait to work with you to get you and your partner to stop arguing and have more sex. I can't wait to meet you. The third reason why it's so difficult for you to make a decision is your reputation. Now, many people aren't necessarily concerned about what other people think, right? But they're actually more concerned about what they think about themselves. When I say reputation, I mean an internal reputation where you're concerned about how you will retell this story one day, and you want to make sure that you made the right call, quote unquote, the right call. You want to make sure that you made the right decision. You don't want to look back on yourself and say, dang, I didn't give it my best shot. You don't want to go back when you retell the story over a brunch to a close friend and stop and look at yourself and say, dang, maybe I should have done this. Or dang, maybe I didn't move fast enough. Or dang, maybe I moved too fast. You are concerned with your internal reputation, not necessarily what other people think about you and whether or not you should leave or stay after finding out that your partner cheated on you. You are more concerned about your internal reputation and how this story is playing out. Keep in mind, the struggle that you're having right now is that this story is playing out live. The story is playing out in a live recording for you to look at and see. And the tug that you're having is making sure that it creates a story that you will be proud of, that it creates a reputation that you will then look back and say, I did the right thing. That's what you're concerned about. That's why it's so hard to decide whether to leave or stay. Okay. And the last reason why it's so hard for you to decide whether to leave or stay is the ultimate mind F, is the battle between your logical brain and the battle between your heart. It is going to be in a constant tug, okay? A constant battle. The logical is the evidence that you have about what your partner did, the evidence that you have about how they feel. And then the logical brain is trying to figure out, where do I fall in line with that? What do I think about that? What do I think about the fact that they, you know, are telling me this is a one-time thing? What do I think about the fact that they had an affair for months? What do I think about the fact that, they're telling me that they want to work through this, that they're going to end things, that things are still happening? What do I think about the fact that I've seen text messages in which my partner is profoundly confessing their love to somebody that is not me? What do I think about that? Right? That is your logical brain having a battle between, excuse me. Yeah, that is your emotional brain having a battle between with the logical side, with the evidence, right? That is the tug that you are having because you are trying to decide whether to leave or stay. So, after all of these difficulties that I presented, which I want you to understand how necessary it is to fundamentally understand the why you are going through this, you are going to have to make a decision in which you are constantly thinking about these things. You will need to coach yourself through this constant cycle of the logical brain and the emotional brain, the M&Ms, the internal reputation, all of those factors. You will have to coach yourself through that, right? Now, here's also the kicker, and I don't know if you know this, but many studies show, specifically the Infidelity Institute, right? You can actually Google that, it exists. These are people who study the psychology of cheating. They say that on an average, it takes anywhere between 6 months to 2 years to get through this, with an average of 18 months, which means that everything that I just described to you, right? The tearing down of the fantasies, the money, the mortgage, and the minors, the internal reputation, the mind F that you're going to go back with your logical brain and your emotional brain. Studies show that you will go through this cycle of thinking, cycle of having to coach yourself, of getting through this cheating period for about 2 years, an average of 18 months. That is a long time to have to go through that. So while you are deciding whether to leave or stay, I want you to ask yourself, am I willing first to put myself through this for 2 years? Potentially 2 years with an average of 18 months. How will I show up daily to my relationship if I decide to stay, knowing that I'm going to go through this cycle for about 2 years? If I decide to stay, is that the best decision for me right now? Now, notice I said for me right now. I didn't say for the kids. I didn't say for my money. I said for me right now. And last, I want you to ask yourself, do I see myself rebuilding trust with my partner, or is that ultimately gone? Do I see myself waking up every single day for the next 2 years in an attempt to rebuild this trust? Do I have the capacity to put in the work for this relationship, knowing that it's going to put me through this cycle of thinking, this cycle of internal conflict, this cycle of needing to accept where I'm at, needing to self-coach myself through the things that I may be triggered with? Am I okay doing this? for potentially the next 2 years? That's the real question I want you to ask yourself. Knowing how much work it takes to get through infidelity and for it potentially going to take 2 years, are you okay doing that? Do you have it in you to do that? That's the most important question for you to ask yourself. Not listing the evidence for, and replaying the evidence. Many times I've seen couples that I've worked with, they'll replay the evidence and the facts for years. For years, they'll dissect it without even processing their emotions. Cheating is an extremely personal thing. And I want you to understand that when you decide, and if you decide to stay, it's going to be a while of you having to navigate this. Navigating through this isn't going to be easy, but it's exactly what I want to help you through. Okay. I've worked with dozens of clients that have gone through this very personal incident in their long-term relationships, in their marriage, and having me in their back pocket was the very thing that they needed in order to make the decision, in order to deliver the decision, and in order to rebuild their lives in terms of their mindset, their confidence, and even their faith. Again, cheating is a very personal thing, and I want to be able to do this work with you. You can sit here and listen to my frameworks, listen to how to self-coach yourself, watch my reels, read my emails, which you should, by the way. If you aren't subscribed to my emails, please go to the link in my bio and subscribe to my email newsletter, Release Your Relationship, where I walk you through weekly relationship gems on how to surrender your partner. You can do all of that, right? But there is something about doing the work that requires me to do it with you. It is a very different experience. And if you don't, it will help. The podcast episodes will help. The emails will help. They will give you epiphanies. They will give you change. But having me in your back pocket is a very different thing. So if this resonates with you, I want you to go to the link in my bio. I primarily live on Instagram, or go to my website, KarinaFDaves.com with an F. And I want you to book a sales call so you can work with me. I want to help you be able to navigate a difficult season in your relationship to come up with what you feel like is necessary for you to leave or to stay. I'm going to help you make that decision. Okay. I'm going to make you make that decision, not just for what's best for you, but your circumstance, whether you have children, your financial makeup. We're going to walk you through all of that. You understand? Okay. I hope this episode resonated with you. If it did, go to link in my bio and book a sales call so we can talk about everything that's happened so far, what you tried, and how I can help. Okay. Listen, let me pray for you. Okay. Excuse me. Father God, thank you so much for allowing me to talk about a sensitive topic, allowing me to be able to share knowledge about the insides of something so personal, Lord. Cheating can feel like such a deep betrayal. And I just ask that for anybody that's listening, that you soften their hearts. Not necessarily just soften their hearts for their partners, but soften their hearts for themselves, and soften their hearts for the future people that you are setting up to be in their lives. Romantically, not romantically, friendship wise, whatever the case is. I ask that you soften their hearts. Cheating can harden our hearts and make us become people that you didn't want us to become. Lord, I ask that you continue protecting our lives, our children as they go to school this week, or today, excuse me. And I ask that you infiltrate us with just so much hope and faith, even though we don't see it. I ask that you purposely slow down time. If you are listening to me right now, I ask that you, God, slow down time for us so that we may remain in the present and clearly listen to you. Clearly listen to your voice and what you want from us. May anybody that's listening to the sound of my voice right now slow down. Slow down. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay. I hope that helped. All right, listen. My name's Karina F. Daves. I'm a relationship expert, podcast host of this dope podcast, Relationships You Understand. If you enjoyed listening to it, please make sure that you subscribe, share it with all of your amigos, and leave me a comment in the reviews. I love you so much, and I can't wait to do this work with you. Again, this is the cheating series part 2, where we just went through the decision. If you haven't listened to part 1, which is the discovery, please go back and listen to it. This series is meant to help you navigate all of the feelings and thoughts that come up when you find out that your partner has stepped outside of your relationship. Okay? I love you so much, and I can't wait to work with you. All right? Bye. If you're loving this podcast and enjoying the juicy relationship gems, then head over to follow me on my socials at Karina F. Daves on Instagram and TikTok. Head over to my website, Karina F. Daves, and subscribe to my newsletter, Release Your Relationship, where I share weekly relationship advice on how to overcome the #1 relationship issue. If you're really enjoying this podcast, don't forget to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode, and share it with all of your amigos. Reviews are such a personal way to hear your voice and interact with our community. Thanks so much for listening to the show, and can't wait to have you back again. I love you so much.